The beach house always felt like my grandmother whispering secrets to me, even after she was gone. Standing on those weathered wooden steps, I could still hear her voice carried on the salt breeze. "This place will be your anchor, Laura, your safe harbor when the storms come." I didn't know then how prophetic those words would be. My name is Laura, and I'm about to tell you how I lost everything, and then made sure the people who took it from me lost even more. Baby, just think about the potential. Jeremiah's arms wrapped around my waist as we stood on the deck, watching the sunset paint the waves gold. "Angela says this investment opportunity is once in a lifetime. The returns could set us up forever." I leaned back against his chest, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. "This house is all I have left of her, Jerry. It's not just property." "I know, sweetheart." His voice was honey smooth, the same tone he used when we first met. "But your grandmother would want you to build a future, wouldn't she? Not just cling to the past?" The front door creaked open, and Angela's stilettos clicked across the deck. My sister-in-law's presence always made the air feel thinner somehow. "The paperwork's ready," she announced, waving a leather portfolio. "I've triple-checked everything. The offshore account is ironclad." I turned to face her, noting how her designer blazer matched Jeremiah's tie perfectly. They always coordinated, the Wallace siblings, like they were two halves of the same sleek corporate machine. "Walk me through it again?" I requested, moving toward the kitchen where papers were spread across the granite countertop. Angela's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "Of course, darling. The property sells for $1.2 million. That capital goes into a specialized investment vehicle I've set up. Returns start at 18% annually, guaranteed." "Nothing's guaranteed in investing," I murmured, remembering my grandmother's warnings about too-good-to-be-true promises. "Trust me," Angela purred, sliding a Mont Blanc pen into my hand. "I've been doing this for 15 years. My clients never lose." Jeremiah squeezed my shoulder. "This is our chance, baby, to start that family we've been talking about. Maybe even open that art gallery you've always dreamed of." I stared at the papers, my hand hovering over the signature line. The house had been my sanctuary during a childhood filled with my mother's emotional absence and my father's disappearing acts. But maybe Jeremiah was right. Maybe holding on to it was holding me back. "The market won't wait forever," Angela added, checking her Rolex. "I have another client interested if you're not ready." I signed. The scratch of pen on paper felt like betrayal, but I pushed the feeling down. This was for our future, I told myself, for the life Jeremiah and I had planned. Angela gathered the documents with efficient movements, but as she slipped them into her briefcase, I caught it, a flash of something in her expression. A slight curl of her lip, gone so quickly I almost convinced myself I'd imagined it. "Congratulations," she said, her voice as artificial as her nails. "You've made a very wise decision." That night, after they left, I stood alone on the deck one last time. The waves seemed darker, hungrier. I pulled out my phone and typed a message to my old college friend, Elias. "Remember when you said you owed me a favor? I need your eyes on some paperwork, quietly." I didn't know then that I was starting a war. Didn't realize that my signature wasn't just selling a house, it was signing a declaration of hostilities. But something in Angela's smirk had awakened an old instinct, one I'd learned in a childhood full of broken promises and empty words. Never trust someone who smiles while taking something from you. The ocean roared below, and I made a silent promise to my grandmother. If this was a game, I'd play it, but I'd play it my way, and I'd play to win. 2 weeks after signing away my grandmother's house, I sat in a coffee shop, staring at my phone and the increasingly concerning texts from Elias. "These investment documents are full of red flags. Call me ASAP. Laura, please tell me you haven't transferred the funds yet." The barista, Rosalie, set down my third Americano with a concerned look. "You okay? You've been frowning at your phone for an hour." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with Jeremiah's message. "Don't forget to complete the wire transfer today. Angela needs it done before close of business." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Something felt wrong. The past 2 weeks had been a blur of paperwork and rushed signatures, with Angela constantly hovering, her perfectly manicured hands always reaching for the next document. I dialed Elias. "Finally," he answered on the first ring. "Listen carefully. This setup smells like a trap. The offshore account structure, the rushed timeline, the lack of standard protections, it's all wrong." "But Angela's a licensed financial consultant," I whispered, though doubt had already taken root. She showed us her credentials. "Anyone can look good on paper, Laura. Have you noticed any changes in Jeremiah lately?" I thought about the past month, the late nights at the office, the passwords changed on our joint accounts, the way he'd snap when I asked about investment updates. "He's different," I admitted. "Colder." "Don't transfer that money," Elias said firmly. "Meet me at my office in an hour." I grabbed my bag, but before I could leave, Jeremiah walked in. My stomach dropped at his expression. All business, no warmth. "There you are," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Angela's been trying to reach you. Why haven't you completed the transfer?" "I just wanted to review everything one more time." His jaw tightened. "We've been over this. The opportunity expires today. Don't you trust me?" "Of course I do, but—" "But what?" His voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. "You think you know better than Angela? She's got a Harvard MBA, Laura. What do you have? An art degree?" The coffee shop suddenly felt very quiet. Rosalie pretended to wipe down nearby tables, clearly listening. "I just want to understand where exactly the money's going," I said, keeping my voice steady. "You're being paranoid." He reached across the table, gripping my hand too tightly. "This is our future we're talking about. Don't ruin it with your insecurities." My phone buzzed again. Angela calling. I let it go to voicemail. "I need some air," I said, standing up. "We can discuss this tonight." "No." Jeremiah's chair scraped back. "We're handling this now. I'll drive you to the bank myself." That's when I saw it. Panic in his eyes. Not concern for our future, but raw fear. The kind that comes when a plan starts unraveling. "Actually," I said, "I'm meeting Elias to review the paperwork." Jeremiah's face darkened. "That second-rate lawyer? Since when do you talk to him?" "Since I needed someone who'd tell me the truth." I walked out, my heart pounding. Behind me, I heard Jeremiah on the phone. "Angela, we have a problem." At Elias's office, surrounded by legal books and the smell of old coffee, I finally saw the full picture. The investment vehicle was a shell designed to move money through multiple offshore accounts before disappearing entirely. "They're not just trying to take your money," Elias said, pointing to highlighted sections. "They're setting you up to take the fall if anyone investigates. These signatures, they make you look like the mastermind." My phone kept buzzing. Angela, Jeremiah, Angela again. "What do I do?" Elias leaned back, a slight smile playing on his lips. "That depends. Do you want to just protect yourself, or do you want to make them regret ever trying this?" I thought of Jeremiah's condescension, Angela's smirk, my grandmother's house. "Make them regret it," I said. "Make them regret ever hearing my name. Then I know someone you need to meet." Elias picked up his phone. "Ever heard of Presley Flores? She specializes in following money trails and making them disappear." Presley's office looked more like a hacker's den than a financial investigator's workspace. 3 monitors displayed scrolling numbers, and a wall of sticky notes created a complex web of connections. "So," she said, spinning in her chair to face me, "you want to catch some sharks?" Her purple-streaked hair and nose ring didn't match my mental image of a financial analyst, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "I want to do more than catch them," I replied. "I want to trap them." She grinned. "Now that's what I like to hear. Show me what you've got." I spread out the investment documents while Elias explained the legal implications. Presley's fingers flew across her keyboard, her expression growing increasingly animated. "Oh, these two are not amateurs," she muttered. "Look at this structure. They've done this before." What do you mean? She pulled up a series of bank records. Your husband's businesses? They're failing, but money keeps flowing through them. Classic Ponzi scheme setup. And Big Sister Angela? She's got a pattern. Every few years, a large investment disappears. The victims never press charges because she structures it to make them look complicit. My stomach churned. How do we stop them? We don't just stop them, Presley said, cracking her knuckles. We turn their own game against them. First, we set up a shadow trust in your name. Completely legitimate, completely hidden. I can help with that, Elias added. We'll make it look like a standard divorce protection account. Presley nodded. Then we create a copycat of their offshore setup, but we only move 30% of the funds there. The rest goes into your secure trust. When they try to grab the money, they'll only get a fraction, I finished, and trigger their own trap. Exactly, but we need proof of their intentions. Give me 2 days to set up surveillance. Those 2 days were the hardest of my life. I had to act normal, scared, defeated. Jeremiah alternated between love bombing and subtle threats, while Angela kept dropping by to check on the transfer status. Presley's text came at midnight. Got it. Office. Now. I slipped out while Jeremiah slept, driving through empty streets to Presley's building. She was waiting with a recording. Listen to this, she said, hitting play. Angela's voice filled the room. She's so naive. It'll all be ours soon. The beach house money is just the start, Jeremiah replied. Once she's broke and discredited, we can leverage her art connections for the gallery scheme. You sure she suspects nothing? Please. She still thinks we're planning a family. I've got her exactly where we want her. I felt ice in my veins, but also a strange calm. How long have they been planning this? Based on the financial trails, at least a year, Presley said. But here's the beautiful part. I found their previous victims. 3 other women, same pattern. One of them, Elvis, is ready to talk. She's been building a case. Perfect timing, Elias said from the doorway, because Angela just filed the transfer papers. They're moving tomorrow. Presley's fingers danced across her keyboard. Everything's in place. The moment they try to access those funds, it'll trigger every financial fraud alert I've coded. The FBI is already watching them thanks to Elvis's case. This will be the evidence they need. What about me? I asked. Won't I be implicated? That's why we documented everything, Elias explained. Every conversation, every threat, every suspicious transaction. You're not their accomplice. You're their victim who fought back. My phone buzzed. A text from Jeremiah. Where are you? We have an early meeting with Angela tomorrow. Ah, yes, the final investment meeting, Presley smirked, also known as, here's your divorce papers, surprise. I looked at her. How did you know? It's their pattern. They love the dramatic reveal. The question is, are you ready to play your part? I thought about my grandmother's house, about the life I'd planned with a man who saw me as nothing but a mark, about Angela's smirk and Jeremiah's lies. Oh, I'm ready, I said, typing a response to Jeremiah. They want a show? Let's give them one they'll never forget. That's my girl, Presley grinned, pulling up more screens. Now let's make sure every single cent they try to steal becomes a nail in their coffin. I watched the numbers flow across her monitors, each digit a promise of justice to come. Tomorrow, they'd think they were destroying me. They had no idea I was about to destroy them first. The restaurant Angela chose for our investment meeting screamed old money, all dark wood and crystal chandeliers. I wore my grandmother's pearl necklace and my best poker face. Wine? Jeremiah asked, already pouring me a glass of expensive red. His smile was practiced, rehearsed. I'd seen that same smile in Presley's surveillance photos, right before he convinced other women to sign away their savings. Thank you, darling. I sipped slowly, watching Angela arrange papers with theatrical precision. So, Angela began, her voice dripping with fake sympathy, we need to discuss some changes to the investment structure. Oh? I widened my eyes, playing the naive artist they thought I was. Is something wrong? Not wrong, exactly. Jeremiah placed his hand over mine. Just different opportunities arising. A waiter appeared with appetizers none of us had ordered. Angela waved him away with a flick of her manicured fingers. The thing is, Laura, she continued, the investment vehicle requires some restructuring. For tax purposes, of course. Of course. I nodded, thinking of Presley watching the offshore accounts like a hawk, waiting for their move. Jeremiah squeezed my hand, then released it. Baby, we need to be honest here. Yes, let's be honest. I met his eyes. Just for a second, I saw uncertainty flicker across his face. Angela slid a thick envelope across the table. These are divorce papers. Divorce papers? I whispered, letting my voice shake just enough. It's better this way, Jeremiah said smoothly. Clean break, no messy emotions. I opened the envelope with trembling fingers, scanning the documents inside. They'd planned everything. Division of assets, none for me. Spousal support, 0. And a clause preventing me from contesting any investment decisions. I don't understand, I said, my voice small. What about our future? The family we planned? Angela's lip curled. Oh, honey, did you really think someone like my brother would build a future with someone like you? A failed art teacher living off her grandmother's charity? Angela, Jeremiah warned, but his sister was on a roll. You get nothing, she continued. The house money? Gone. Your savings? Transferred. Even your precious art gallery dreams? We'll be using those connections for our own ventures. I let tears fill my eyes, real ones, but not for the reasons they thought. How long? I asked Jeremiah. How long have you been planning this? He at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. Just sign the papers, Laura. Don't make this difficult. My hands shook as I picked up the pen. Angela leaned forward, practically salivating at her moment of triumph. I signed. There, I said quietly, standing up. You got what you wanted. Laura, Jeremiah called as I walked away. Don't be dramatic. I turned at the door, letting them see my smile. Good luck with all that. Their confused expressions were priceless. Outside, Elias waited in his car. Done? He asked as I slid into the passenger seat. Done. I pulled out my phone, texting Presley. Papers signed. Light the fuse. How long until they try to access the accounts? Elias pulled away from the curb. Knowing Angela, the moment she gets home, she won't be able to resist checking her victory spoils. My phone buzzed. Presley had sent a screenshot of Angela already attempting to log in to the offshore account. Right on schedule, I laughed. How much do you think they'll panic when they see only 30% of what they expected? Less than they'll panic when they see the fraud alerts, Elias grinned. Another text from Presley. FBI Financial Crimes Unit just got an anonymous tip about suspicious activity matching an ongoing investigation. Oops. I touched my grandmother's pearls, remembering her words about karma. They thought I was just another easy mark, I said. Just another trusting fool they could use and discard. Their mistake, Elias replied, turning toward Presley's office. Ready to watch the fireworks? More than ready. I checked my phone one last time. Angela was trying to access the account again, growing more desperate with each attempt. They wanted to play games with my life? Fine, game on. Somewhere in the city, alarms were starting to ring in federal offices. But for now, I just smiled, imagining Angela's face when she realized the predator had become prey. I sat on the beach near my old house, sipping tea and watching the waves when my phone exploded with notifications. Presley had set up a surveillance alert on Angela's computer activity, and it was showing exactly what we'd expected. She's trying to access the account, Presley texted. 5th attempt in 10 minutes. Want to watch the show? She sent me a screen recording. Angela's login worked, but instead of millions, the balance showed $47,000. A red banner flashed across the top. Account activity suspended. Fraud alert protocol initiated. My phone rang, Jeremiah's name flashing on the screen. I put it on speaker. What did you do? He was trying to sound calm, but panic edged his voice. I have no idea what you're talking about, I replied, taking another sip of tea. I'm just a failed art teacher, remember? Cut the act! Angela's voice cut in. I was on speakerphone, too. The money's gone. There's some kind of fraud alert. Really? How unfortunate. Have you tried calling your compliance department? You think this is funny? Jeremiah snarled. We'll destroy you. With what evidence? I asked sweetly. The offshore accounts you set up in my name? The fraudulent investment documents with your fingerprints all over them? Or maybe the recorded conversations about your plans to scam me? Silence. That's right, I continued. I'm not as naive as you thought. Next time, maybe don't discuss your schemes in your office when you've already targeted someone who specializes in audio-visual installations. You're bluffing, Angela said, but her voice wavered. My phone buzzed with another text from Presley. FBI interest triggered. We may have company. Check your email, I told them. I just sent you something interesting. I heard keyboard clicks, then Angela's sharp intake of breath. Those are records of your previous victims, I explained. Elvis says hello, by the way. She's been building quite a case against you. You bit, Angela started, but Jeremiah cut her off. We can fix this, he said, switching to his smooth-talking voice. Come on, baby. We can work something out. Split the money 50-50. No one needs to get hurt. Oh, Jerry, I sighed. You still think you have leverage? Check your personal account. More clicking, then a string of curses from Angela. It's frozen. All the accounts are frozen. Funny how fraud alerts work, I mused. One suspicious transaction and the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. You'll regret this, Angela hissed. No, I don't think I will. But you know what I do regret? Not seeing your faces when you realized you'd been played, when you figured out that the predators had become prey. A commotion erupted on their end. Multiple voices, heavy footsteps. FBI! Everyone stay where you are! I smiled, listening to the chaos unfold. Angela was shouting about her rights, Jeremiah was trying to delete files, and federal agents were reading Miranda rights. Have fun explaining those offshore accounts, I said, and hung up. My phone immediately lit up with a text from Elias. It's done. They're being taken in for questioning. Elvis and the others are ready to testify. Rosalie, my favorite barista-turned-friend, appeared with a fresh cup of tea. She'd let me use her beachfront cafe as my base of operations these past weeks. Did it work? She asked, sitting beside me. Like clockwork. I showed her the notifications flooding my phone. News alerts about a major financial fraud investigation, text from Presley confirming the arrests, messages from other victims thanking me for helping expose the scheme. Aren't you worried they'll come after you somehow? I shook my head. Every move I made was legal. I just had to let them think they were winning long enough to expose their own crimes. Still, Rosalie said, it's kind of scary how good you were at this, turning their trap against them. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, I quoted. My grandmother used to say that. She also taught me that the best defense is being smarter than your enemies think you are. My phone buzzed again. Presley. You need to see this. Angela's computer had files on dozens more victims. This is bigger than we thought. I stood up, brushing sand from my clothes. The waves crashed behind me, steady and strong, like my grandmother's voice in my memory. Time to finish what we started, I told Rosalie. They wanted to play games with people's lives. Let's show them how expensive that game can get. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. I was at Rosalie's cafe when every phone in the place chimed simultaneously with the breaking news alert. Jeremiah's face filled the screens, his perfect corporate smile replaced by a deer-in-headlights stare as FBI agents led him out of his office in handcuffs. Financial power couple arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, the headline screamed. Below it, Angela's mugshot looked considerably less polished than her LinkedIn profile picture. "Holy shit," Rosalie whispered, setting down a coffee pot. "That's really them." My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. Old friends, distant relatives, even my emotionally distant mother had emerged from the woodwork. "Did you know?" my mother's text read. "Are you okay?" Before I could respond, Elvis burst through the cafe door, waving her phone. "Have you seen? They're going down! All those years of collecting evidence, and you finally gave us the smoking gun we needed." She pulled me into a fierce hug. We'd grown close over the past weeks, sharing stories of how the Wallace siblings had manipulated us. But where I'd caught on early, Elvis had lost everything, including her small business. "The FBI agent said they found records of at least 30 victims," Elvis continued, sliding into a seat, "dating back 5 years. My phone lit up with a call from Presley. "Turn on Channel 7 now," she said without greeting. Rosalie grabbed the remote, and suddenly Angela's face filled the cafe's TV screen. She was being escorted from her office, designer suit, wrinkled, mascara smeared. "This is a mistake," she was saying to the reporters. "My sister-in-law is behind this. She's trying to frame us." The camera panned to a serious-looking federal agent. "We have extensive evidence of long-term financial fraud, including offshore accounts, falsified documents, and recorded conversations planning these schemes." "They really thought they were untouchable," Elvis muttered. My phone buzzed again. Elias this time. "Elvis's lawsuit just hit the public courts. Media's going crazy. You might want to lay low for a bit." As if on cue, a reporter walked into the cafe, scanning faces. "I'm looking for Laura Wallace." "Out the back," Rosalie whispered, grabbing my arm. "My apartment's upstairs." We slipped through the kitchen just as more reporters started arriving. From Rosalie's window, I watched them cluster outside like hungry seagulls. "This is insane," Rosalie said, peeking through the curtains. "You're like trending on Twitter." My phone kept lighting up with notifications. Old college friends sharing news articles, former colleagues expressing shock. Even my art world connections were buzzing about it. "Lara," a familiar voice called from the stairwell. "It's Mom." I opened the door to find my mother, Lorelei, looking more uncertain than I'd ever seen her. "I saw the news," she said softly. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me?" She flinched. "I would have. I should have." She took a deep breath. "I knew men like him. Men who seem perfect until they're not. I should have warned you better." Before I could respond, my phone rang. Presley again. "You need to see this," she said when I answered. "Angela's trying to move money from hidden accounts. Every transfer is triggering new fraud alerts. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit is having a field day." "How bad is it?" "Bad enough that they're looking at 7 to 10 years, minimum." She paused. "But they're going to try to drag you down with them. You're not a suspect, but you're definitely in their blast radius." I looked at my mother, at Rosalie, at the chaos unfolding below. "Let them try." "That's my girl," Lorelei said suddenly, surprising me. "Fight back. I should have taught you that sooner." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Jeremiah in custody, followed by 3 words. "Worth it, baby?" I showed it to my mother, who took my phone and typed a response. "Every single penny." Then she did something I hadn't seen since I was a child. She hugged me. "You're stronger than I ever was," she whispered. Below, reporters were interviewing Elvis, who was telling her story with fierce determination. More victims were coming forward by the hour. The Wallace siblings' perfectly constructed world was crumbling, and from my hidden vantage point, I watched justice unfold in real time. They'd wanted to make me disappear. Instead, they'd made themselves infamous. The federal courthouse felt colder than it should have for a summer morning. I sat in the witness chair, facing a room full of faces hungry for every detail of the scandal that had dominated headlines for weeks. "Ms. Lara," the prosecutor began, "please tell us when you first suspected fraudulent activity." Objection! Angela's lawyer jumped up. The witness orchestrated this entire situation. The judge peered over his glasses. Overruled. Continue. I described the red flags, the gaslighting, the careful documentation of every suspicious move. Angela glared at me from the defendant's table while Jeremiah stared at his hands, refusing to meet my eyes. And you intentionally created a secondary account? The prosecutor asked. Yes, a legal trust to protect my assets during what I suspected would be a contentious divorce. Isn't it true, Angela's lawyer interrupted, that you set up surveillance, recorded private conversations, deliberately trapped my clients? I leaned into the microphone. I protected myself from predators who had a documented history of destroying lives. Everything I did was legal. Everything they did wasn't. During the recess, Elias pulled me into an empty conference room. You're doing great, but there's something you need to know. The media's spinning this into a revenge story. They're painting you as a calculating manipulator. Isn't that what I am? You're not the villain here, he insisted, but the closer you resemble them in method, the more the crowd forgets you're the victim. As if to prove his point, my phone showed dozens of social media notifications. Some called me a hero, others a cold-hearted schemer. The truth, as usual, lay somewhere in between. Later that evening, I met Rosalie at her cafe. The place had become a makeshift sanctuary during the media storm. I saw your testimony online, she said, sliding me a cup of tea. You were different, scary different. What do you mean? She hesitated. The way you described setting them up, waiting for them to fall into their own trap. You seemed to enjoy it. It scared me a little. Her words hit harder than any cross-examination. I didn't enjoy it. I just needed to win. Did you? Win, I mean? Because the Laura I first met, the one who talked about art and teaching and helping people, she seems pretty far away right now. Before I could respond, the cafe's bell chimed. A young couple walked in, talking excitedly about a house viewing. It's perfect, the woman was saying. Right on the beach, just like in those old movies. The realtor said it was modeled after a famous local house that used to be there. My chest tightened. They were talking about the development that had replaced my grandmother's house. We could raise a family there, the man replied, holding her hand. Make it our forever home. I watched them, their hope and love so genuine it hurt. Had I looked that innocent once? That trusting? Laura? Rosalie touched my arm. You're crying. I wiped my eyes, surprised to find tears. I forgot what it felt like, to believe in something that pure. It's not too late, you know, to be that person again. My phone buzzed, Presley sending updates about more victims coming forward, more charges being filed. The Wallace siblings' empire wasn't just crumbling, it was exposing a whole network of financial fraud. I don't know how to stop, I admitted. Every new detail makes me want to push harder, dig deeper, make them pay more. Maybe that's the real trap, Rosalie said softly. Not the one they set for you, but the one you're setting for yourself. I looked at the young couple again, now sharing a muffin and drawing plans on a napkin. They reminded me of myself and Jeremiah in the beginning, before greed and lies poisoned everything. What do I do now? I whispered. You could start by remembering why you fought back in the first place. Was it really about revenge, or was it about protecting something more important? My grandmother's voice echoed in my memory. This place will be your anchor. But maybe she hadn't meant the house itself. Maybe she meant what it represented: safety, truth, the courage to stand up for what's right. I pulled out my phone and deleted the surveillance apps, the tracking software, all the digital weapons I'd accumulated. Enough, I said. It's time to build something new. The gallery opening buzzed with energy, walls adorned with artwork from survivors of financial abuse. Each piece told a story of loss, resilience, and rebirth. Elvis's sculpture dominated the center, a phoenix rising from shattered credit cards and bank statements. You've created something remarkable here, Elias said, appearing beside me with 2 champagne glasses. We all did. I gestured to the crowd. Former victims had become artists, advocates, and friends. Even my mother stood in a corner, actually talking to people instead of hiding behind her usual walls. My phone buzzed. Presley's update about the sentencing. I ignored it. Not checking that? Elias raised an eyebrow. Already know what it says. 7 years for Jeremiah, 5 for Angela. The restitution payments are set up. It's done. Rosalie waved from the cafe she'd set up in the gallery's corner. She'd become our unofficial therapist, serving coffee with a side of healing conversations. Look who just walked in, she mouthed, nodding toward the door. The young couple from her cafe, the ones who'd bought the house on my grandmother's old property, stood awkwardly in the entrance. We saw the article about your gallery, the woman said when I approached, about how you're helping fraud victims recover through art. We wanted to show you something. She pulled out her phone, showing me photos of my grandmother's house, not the original, but their recreation of it. They'd restored every detail, right down to the weathered steps and blue shutters. We learned the history, her partner explained. What happened to you, to this place. We wanted to honor that somehow. We're turning the guest house into a free retreat, the woman added, for people rebuilding their lives after financial abuse. If you'd like to be involved. My throat tightened. Behind them, through the gallery windows, I could see the ocean, the same waves that had witnessed my fall and rise. I'd like that very much. The evening flowed on. Elvis sold her sculpture to a major museum. My mother actually hugged someone. Rosalie announced she was expanding her cafe into a full support center for fraud survivors. Near closing time, Presley arrived, looking uncharacteristically formal. The FBI wants to consult with you, she said. Your experience, your recovery program, they think it could help other victims. No more revenge plots, I warned. No, she smiled. Just justice, the legal kind. After everyone left, I walked down to the beach alone. The box in my bag felt heavy. One last thing to do. I pulled out my wedding photo, the last physical reminder of what Jeremiah and I had been. The happy couple in the image looked like strangers now. As I struck the match, Rosalie's footsteps crunched in the sand behind me. Need company? Always. We watched the photo curl and burn. I let the ashes scatter into the waves where my grandmother's house once stood. They said I'd lose everything, I told Rosalie. They were wrong. I gained something they never had. What's that? Myself, the real me, not the victim, not the avenger, just me. My phone buzzed one last time, an unknown number. Jeremiah's final message from prison. I'm sorry, for whatever that's worth. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. The gallery lights behind us illuminated the beach, casting long shadows that danced with the waves. Inside, artwork from broken people learning to be whole again. In the distance, my grandmother's house, reborn as a sanctuary. And here, on this beach, a woman who'd learned that the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. Ready to go? Rosalie asked. Almost. I pulled out my grandmother's pearls, the ones I'd worn the day I signed those divorce papers. With a gentle toss, they arced through the air and disappeared into the waves. Those were worth a fortune, Rosalie gasped. I know, I smiled, but I don't need anchors anymore. I am my own safe harbor. We walked back to the gallery, leaving footprints in the sand that the tide would soon wash away. Behind us, the ocean kept its secrets, pearls and ashes, endings and beginnings, all becoming part of something bigger than revenge or loss, something like hope.